Nirmal Jain, Chairman of IIFL. Nirmal, good morning. Thank you for joining us. Nirmal, what do you think will influence Finance Minister's speech today? Economics or politics?
I think both and politics to a larger extent, but I mean that is what all the speeches have been, and particularly when the Finance Minister represents a coalition government and which is in a very weak wicket in terms of getting any tough major pass through. So the speech will definitely be more populist, there's no doubt about it. But one generally hopes that between the lines there will be some economics also that will be taken care of.
Nirmal, but this question is coming your way. Which are some key group of stocks you are advising your clients to buy ahead of the budget, where you expect or anticipate some policy action?
Based on policy actions, in fact, we are advising investors to buy stocks where policy inaction is expected, like maybe a stock like Sun Pharma. And if somebody wants to take slight bit of risk, ITC is one sector or one stock where everybody expects duty increase, or particularly when finance minister is under tremendous pressure to enhance tax revenue. So this looks like populist, but typically the duty increase is much lower than expected, and the stock can rally after that. But these are all so defenses like ITC, Sun Pharma, or stocks even in auto sector like Maruti and Telco, where there would have been some concern about increase in diesel cars or whatever, but which may not come true because practically it's difficult, and the diesel consumed by diesel car is hardly is very insignificant part of total diesel consumption. So if one has to buy a portfolio of stocks, then one has to look at these kind of stocks. But the best thing to do before budget is to wait for the budget to be announced.
Nirmal, what would be your obvious bets before the budget? Would it be infrastructure as well as power, where there is increased expectation of some thrust coming in?
In fact, in terms of investing in the market, I'll be rather cautious because there may be some announcements in the budget, but one has to really see whether government will be able to implement and execute the same, because budget after budget will hear Finance Minister talking about thrust on infrastructure, thrust on agriculture, thrust on everything else. But one needs to see that how what kind of policy reforms are there which will allow the bottlenecks to be removed, what kind of if changes are done in mining bills, land acquisition rights, and other things which are very thorny issues, and I don't expect them to be resolved in budget. So I would be rather cautious, wait and watch. There can be some fiscal softs for infrastructure because the capex has been lagging behind. In the last 2 years we have seen that combined impact of RBI's interest rate increase on one hand and indecision or policy paralysis, as everybody has been talking about at the government end, has led to significant. See, the situation that we are entering now probably will have a power shortage will become more acute in next few years. Infrastructure bottlenecks will become more severe in next few years. So the indecision that has happened in the last 2 years will impact growth for next 2 to 3 years, and therefore one has to wait and watch whether see, there are now two schools of thought. One is that push to wall. Finance Minister knows that or the government knows that there's nothing to lose. Whatever credibility could be lost is lost now. Whatever coalition is there, whatever you do, they're going to oppose. And it's a very very interesting mix of various parties which are opposed to each other. So one doesn't know whether the government will collapse or not. So these are times when one can be more courageous. Mamata has one agenda, which is to get the railway minister replaced. I think this is a good idea for the government to make sure that they bargain, or they basically cut out a deal that let this budget be passed through with the reforms, and then we'll at least make sure that whatever public statement they made, so there's a face saving for them if they replace the railway minister. But there is one school of thought. The other school of thought is that as we've seen that government hasn't been able to face any pressure, and they more or less surrendered to all political parties, small or big. They have tried to appease the minority masses without any regards to economics. So we see that our petrol, food and fertilizer subsidy bill, they are significantly higher. In fact, the fiscal deficit is.
Okay, Nirmal, good having you on the show.